that this was to be a nation by white people and for white people. Native Americans, blacks, and all other non-white people were to be the burden bearers for the real citizens of this nation.
All right, peace, peace, peace. We have a very important show lined up for y'all tonight. So first and foremost, I just want to thank everybody for joining. As you guys know, the reason why I created this channel, the Black Prophet Hour, was for the purpose of really, adding clarity to a lot of discussions that we see happening in the social media space. But the discussions are oftentimes not framed from a perspective that is grounded in any type of real analysis of the situation that we are faced with as African people in this country. So this conversation that we're going to have tonight is going to be a very important conversation. And we're going to seek to, really, clear a lot of the misconceptions and a lot of the misunderstandings and misinformation that has been spread regarding NCOBRA, regarding reparations, regarding HR 40, via social media, specifically, on Twitter and on YouTube. So the objective of tonight's panel, as I mentioned, is for us to really allow my panelists to address the misinformation that has been put out about HR 40. The objective is also to put an end to the smear campaign that's been launched against NCOBRA. But most importantly, the objective of tonight's presentation is to allow the leadership, the national leadership of NCOBRA, to speak for themselves. Sometimes, when we don't see people in this social media space or in this digital space, we assume that they don't exist. So we take the liberty of speaking for them at times instead of inviting them on to introduce them and allow them to speak for themselves. And we know that we exist in an environment now where digital content creation is the way a lot of people earn their living. So as a result, when you have these hot topics that arise, like ADOS or like reparations, you have people who, never heard of reparations or never heard of ADOS before February of 2019 and begin to weigh in on something that, has been a discussion that's been happening for the last 100 years. So I know that, on YouTube, a lot of people don't cross platforms. So a lot of the YouTube viewing audience that may watch this playback may not understand the backstory of, a lot of the chaos that has occurred on Twitter as of late, related to reparations, related to ADOS, and related to NCOBRA. So what I would like to do to get all viewers on the same page is just to contextualize the backstory that led to the convening of today's panel. And as soon as I do that, I'll let my panelists introduce themselves one by one. And we have a host of questions that we will ask, and I am pretty sure by the end of this presentation, clarity will be obtained and COBRA will be received in the manner in which they should be received as a legitimate grassroots organization that has been putting in the work for longer than many of people on Twitter have been born. So with that said, I'll go ahead and get started. So the reason why I wanted to convene tonight's panel is because as a grassroots organizer myself, it didn't sit well with me that the work of NCOBRA was being erased by people who had ulterior motives, people who were looking to smear NCOBRA, and people who are new arrivals, so to speak, into the reparations movement by way of the ADOS hashtag, and may not have been familiar with NCOBRA. But I think that, the tone at the top of any movement, leadership always matters. And I think that the tone at the top has been helping to contribute to some of the chaos that we see amongst the ranks of this movement, so to speak. So tonight is really an opportunity to clear that, but to also make sure that no one's work is being erased. You know what I mean? And I want people to understand that although I am a Pan-Africanist, although I do support NCOBRA, I don't support any of the work that's being done in our community being erased. So I have, basically these tweets here that show back in February, when the Root and when Simone Sanders went on CNN and looked to erase the work of Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore and tried to credit the work that they had put in and bringing reparations to the national stage. She tried to credit that to a Root article. I was very vocal in going on to Twitter and saying, hey, we as Black Twitter should pressure the Root into saying the names of both Antonio Moore and Yvette Carnell, because although I don't agree with them and I have been vocally critical of them, I don't think it's right that their work be diminished or their work be erased. That being said, in February, and I'm not going to make tonight at least my intro, I won't make it about Yvette Carnell, but I need to give some context here. In February, Yvette Carnell went on to Twitter. Someone may have to mute their, okay. So in February, Yvette Carnell went on to Twitter and she puts out a tweet for her followers to say that, people forgot what the reparations movement used to look like before ADOS arrived on the scene. And she says, basically the reparations movement before ADOS was one man at a table screaming on a bullhorn. And I just found that to be, disingenuous. I found it to be disrespectful. Fortunately, I guess she did delete the tweet, but, the damage was done because people who are looking to Yvette Carnell for leadership, read the tweet and their response to NCOBRA is based upon the way that Yvette is painting, NCOBRA, for her membership. So I don't think that it's good to throw stones and then hide your hand. I think that we should not look to erase the work, especially the work of an organization like NCOBRA that has been around since 1987 and has, been doing the work of bringing together, the entertainment community with the activist community, with the intellectual community. This is one of those classic, NCOBRA photos from the archives where you see Dr. Greg Carr sitting next to our ancestor Khalid Muhammad and with Tupac Shakur speaking at an NCOBRA event, but just showing, just this rich history and trajectory that this organization, this grassroots organization has brought to the movement for reparations, and the fact that they have carried the banner for so long. I don't want this new generation coming into the movement to just throw away or disregard all of the work that has been done before them, because people have really, put blood, sweat, and tears into this movement. We still have political prisoners in jail today that have put their life on the line for this movement. So for this new generation, my age and younger, to come into this movement and just completely disregard the work that has been done, the work that's currently being done. If I can do something to kind of like put a halt to that smear campaign, I'm going to do my best to do so, because as a grassroots organizer, I understand how hard it is to get work done at the grassroots level. And I would encourage, our folks, our family, in the ADOS movement, as they mature and grow as a movement, that eventually it moves beyond just online advocacy and they come into the community with, other reparations, organizers who are actually on the ground doing the work, such as NCOBRA. But in order for the work to be done, an environment of respect has to be fostered. An environment of respect and appreciation for what has been done before you has to be created. And right now, that does not exist. So we are really looking to clear the air to make sure that our people understand the contributions that NCOBRA, has made. So